We're joined today by Eugene Hutz. He's the frontman for the band Gogol Bordello. They're coming to the First Avenue in Minneapolis on July 25th. Eugene, how you doing today?
Yeah, all right. Staying strong, man. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Well, I know Gogol Bordello's coming to First Avenue here in Minneapolis July 25th. You guys have played First Ave a lot over the years, and I know you got a lot of fans here in Minnesota. I imagine you're excited to be back here in Minnesota.
Love the First Avenue. It's a fact. I mean, can't think of shows in First Avenue that were not maximum cathartic. Always walking out of there with a great memory.
Awesome. And I know you guys are really known for your live shows. What are the listeners in for this time around? You got any surprises in store maybe for this tour?
Well, surprise is something that's already encoded in a name, Gogol Bordello. I mean, anytime you say that, you're basically saying that I'm going to see Gogol Bordello the way they are now, which is going to be another spin on the event in uncharted gypsy punk territory. Just the whole band, the way it's built and the way it's set up, it's built on core members and newly arrived members. So there is always a bit of newness and classic Gogol Bordello in it. So basically, nobody ever saw Gogol Bordello twice. They were always surprised. It's just a fact. And this tour around, we have the accordion is back in action. We took quite a break from making music with accordion for about 5 years, actually. So it's nice to have the musicality back with a very awesome player, Erica Mancini, with us. And also we're bringing another powerful new group from New York City who's opening the show, but is also participating in our show. And their name is Puzzle Panther. That's a very new entity, a songwriting duo from New York City, two brilliant, talented girls writing songs, experimenting with elements of punk and hardcore and synth pop and everything inside, shaping their sonic identity fast, writing songs on the topic of the day,
Awesome, man. I know you guys have been touring here for a while here. You guys always seem to be on the road, and I know you're heading over to the UK later this year. How has the tour been going so far? Has everything been going well?
Yeah, we did 5 weeks or a month in Europe, did a lot of festivals, and that's good to see because festivals were, they were kind of in shambles after the pandemic, and people are still rebuilding basically their routes and their way back in musical business. It's quite ramshackled in a lot of ways, actually. So, but it felt great to be part of, these big festivals that are making their communal way back. Pretty awesome. We came in, we had a 10-day break in New York City, and summer is our high season, so there's no rest in the summer for Gogol Bordello, and that's pretty much how we like it.
Excellent. Well, I know the success you guys have had over the last 20 years or so. Have you noticed maybe an uptick in kind of the Ukrainian influence in music here in the States? I know there weren't many bands here that were kind of incorporating the style that you guys have had before you got success.
It's not something that is really replicable in terms of I think that what you're getting at is probably has the events of the past 2 years, escalated Ukrainian cultural presence, which was already there. I think that's more of what's happening because, trying to get relevant by incorporating Ukrainian culture would be kind of cheesy,
Sure.
Now that it's talked about so significantly. But I think more interesting thing is that people are learning suddenly that great many kind of well-known cultural things in North America are of Ukrainian origin. That's kind of what's more interesting. People are like, oh, wow, Andy Warhol was Ukrainian. It's like, yeah, I mean, every Ukrainian knows that,
Sure.
or, something as popular as the outfits that were designed by the so-called nudie suits, that Elvis Presley and Elton John and Dolly Parton and Glenn Campbell wore, that known for that flamboyance and kind of bedazzled, actual kind of like a Tex-Mex type of vibe. All the suits were called nudie suits because their designer is Nudie Cohen from Kiev, Ukraine, who came here in the 30s and, made his way into show business and designed this great aesthetic that somehow gets credited to more like Mexican inspired, but it's because of actually Ukrainian folklore and Mexican folklore being so flamboyant and having resemblance, But just like more interesting things like that, and more people talking about their heritage, actors, musicians, Liev Schreiber, one of them, a good friend of mine, who directed the film Everything Is Illuminated that I was in. He's been to Ukraine numerously in the last year. And more so and so forth, and as Liev says, it's like, if you can't stand up for your grandparents, then what can you stand up for,
Awesome, man. Well, again, Gogol Bordello is coming to First Avenue, July 25th, and you guys have really been on a roll as of late, and I know your latest album, Solidarity, came out a little less than a year ago, and a lot of people thought that one was one of your best. I mean, you guys are really firing on all cylinders here.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of, the history of punk music has it that it seems to thrive on the times when the times are critical and prizes full. And we're certainly living in a era of very peculiarly stressed out times. If it's not like some electoral political turmoil, then it's pandemic. And if it's not pandemic, then it's an invasion, and it brings out people of goodwill into their most active mode. And, to me, it's been inspirational, like I'm a lifer punk rocker, Gogol Bordello, like this is what we do. We're always out there, doing our own thing. But this situation in particular, as soon as the invasion started, people who were the first to play benefits with us for Ukraine, like days after the invasion started, were Patti Smith, Jesse Malin, people who reached out to do something together were Jello Biafra, needless to say, from Dead Kennedys, and a great many other projects. Ministry, Paul Jurgensen, one of the greatest sonic mavericks of all times, great supporter of Ukraine. We just put out a single with actually all the people I just mentioned, and Trey Cool from Green Day, and Joe Lally from Fugazi on it, and Roger Miret from Agnostic Front in support of Ukraine. So the vitality of punk music is there. It's kind of, I think that it gives people a chance to see what this music is really all about responsibility, which is your ability to respond adequately to the situation, to the stress, to a crisis. Crisis is inevitable, but it's how well do you walk through the fire,
Sure. Yeah, I heard that song, and I know you did another song with Les Claypool and Stuart Copeland, a few other guys. You've been doing a lot to kind of relieve.
Sean Lennon, Stuart Copeland. Yeah, totally. And that was just another example. Like, that was initiative that Les Claypool took. It's beautiful to see that. Like, some people, I reached out to, in this case, they, Les called and said, "Hey, listen, it's just so bewildering, this situation with the war. Let's do something." And it was beautiful to see. You can just see how people have the right heart and mind in the right place.
Definitely. And I also wanted to ask you, I saw you've got a new film Scream of My Blood coming out. Can you tell the listeners a bit about that?
Yeah, well, this documentary on a story of Gogol Bordello, as it's subtitled, it's been in the works for forever. Actually, it wasn't, it was actually just filmed by close friends, made for no other reason but who kept capturing just something he was really passionate about and enthusiastic about without any plan. And which is how usually, good documentaries are done. Didn't really have any agenda about it. And having so much footage and traveling the world with us, Nate Palmer, he teamed up with Vice News producers to finish it because the war became like a catalyst to kind of demonstrating what the story is about. Because the very name of the band, Gogol Bordello, in the very beginning was particularly chosen to tell the story of Ukrainian impact, because Nikolai Gogol is a Ukrainian writer who was born and raised in Ukraine, whose father was a Ukrainian writer, who popularized Ukrainian identity in the times when it was forbidden by Russian regime, and somehow gets abducted by Moscow propaganda as a Russian writer. And this whole time we've been undoing that story, except that undoing of that story now is a collective effort of many, many people around the world. Now that Guggenheim Museum and all museums around the world have their hands busy recrediting correctly artists who are actually not Russian at all and were never Russian, and putting correct credits to them as Ukrainian artists like Kazimir Malevich, or Chekhov, and so on and so forth. It's a process, and we just been kind of pioneering that process because we didn't wait for the war to tell that story.
Sure. Excellent. Well, I'm looking forward to that. And again, I know you guys are on tour now, but is there anything else coming up for you, maybe music or acting wise, or anything else we should be watching out for?
Well, there's always things coming. It's just, we're maniacs. So things are coming our way all the time. One of the things that I've been getting more and more progressively more interested is producing new bands. And, Puzzle Panther is a band that as I mentioned, we're bringing along. Is definitely a great thing an exciting thing for me to be involved with, because this duo, is focused on writing great songs and, making dope tracks. That's like a one thing. I get it. I am a DJ. I understand the value of that, but writing a timeless good song is a whole another thing. And that's, if you ask me, is a kind of a dying art. I think people who have the knack for that are like thinned out significantly. So it's exciting to work with, bands that have their focus set on writing great, new, modern, but songs with timeless capabilities, while exploring, elements of punk rock and hardcore and synth pop and synth punk, and figuring out their, stylistic identity right here in front of your eyes. So there's that, but also, the film is, every day I get update that film is accepted into this documentary into another film festival. So that's always another adventure, just get accepted into Odessa Film Festival, another festival in Europe, I think it's Barcelona somewhere. More coming, and as we are even here on tour, the new material is being written steady. That's kind of how we do it.
Excellent, man. It's been great speaking with you. And thank you so much. I'm looking forward to the show, and hopefully we can speak again sometime.
Definitely. Please swing by backstage. We'll have a drink and get it done.
All right. Sounds good. Thanks a lot, Eugene.
Thank you. Ciao, ciao.
And again, that was Eugene Hutz from Gogol Bordello, and they'll be playing at the First Ave in Minneapolis on July 25th.